Former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich is here to go on the record. He's the author of the new memoir, The Governor, and he joins us live. Nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you, Greta. Thanks for having me.
So I read your book, quite fascinating, but let me start first with Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel. You write about him in the book. Tell us about sort of the, what's the conversation you had with him about his seat?
Well, Rahm Emanuel was my congressman, and before he became the president's chief of staff, it was announced that he was going to be leaving his congressional seat. He and I had a conversation, very appropriate, nothing at all wrong about it, about whether or not I had the legal authority as the governor to be able to appoint a successor for him. Both he and I consulted with our attorneys and our lawyers, and it was concluded that I didn't have that legal power like I did to pick a United States senator, and we moved on. Rahm Emanuel plays a big role in my book in that he was the person I wanted to engage to help us work out a routine political deal that would create 500,000 jobs by the investments in public works, expand health care to 50,000 to 300,000 families, middle class and working families who otherwise couldn't afford it, and a written guarantee not to raise taxes on people. That was the political deal that was involved in picking a United States senator, not the lies that have been spread about me that I was trying to sell a United States Senate seat for financial gain. When the government said that at a press conference, they were stopping a crime spree before it happened. That was a mutilation of the truth. It's just the opposite. And,
so I understand that what you've written about Rahm Emanuel in the book, it's not that he hasn't done anything improper, but rather that sort of an inside interesting that he had sort of his eyes on Speaker of the House at some point. That's sort of the interesting part of it. Would you not agree? Do you agree with that?
Well, in fairness to him, I was the one who thought and still think that he could be Speaker of the House someday if he ever becomes a congressman again. And I was surprised that he was going to give up his congressional seat to become the president's chief of staff. But I think the central story here is that I've been lied about and falsely accused of something I didn't do at a super sensational press conference. The truth was mutilated, and as a result, a governor elected twice by the people was removed and hijacked from office. The truth is just the opposite of what was alleged and what I'm facing, and that is that I was engaged in putting together a routine political deal that could do the most good for the most people in the state of Illinois. Someone is lying here, and it's not me. There are taped conversations.
It's interesting. It's interesting to talk about who's lying here, because in reading your book, the one you say who really started the ball rolling against you is your father-in-law, that he's the culprit. And I was sort of wondering what Thanksgiving is going to be like at your household, because you blame it all on your father-in-law.
Well, I think the book talks a lot about a lot of different factors and considerations. I reluctantly wrote a chapter about a landfill that a family member of mine was involved in. I had a public duty to address the fact that they didn't have the proper permits, notwithstanding threats and all the rest. I acted. In fact, Rahm Emanuel helped me negotiate through what the right decision I should make in terms of how to handle it. Unfortunately, when I did that, I had an angry father-in-law who made accusations that were false and that he retracted under threat of a lawsuit. But I don't say that all of what I'm facing comes from him. In fact, I point out that there were some other circumstances that took place, but the heart of the matter is that I've been wronged, my family's been wronged, I haven't done anything wrong. I want every tape-recorded conversation heard. I wanted the Illinois State Senate to hear those. The irony here, and it's very thick, is that those who've accused me of wrongdoing, who used snippets of conversations from taped conversations privately, they used those out of context, they misled the public, they mutilated the truth, and the opposite is true. I was involved in trying to put together a routine deal that would do the most good for the people of my state.
And I got that, but I'm just sort of curious and sort of sorting through your book. First of all, I guess you should tell the viewers who your father-in-law is and why that might be relevant. But let me ask you this. Are you saying your father-in-law is a crook?
No, I'm not. I'm simply, and I didn't say that in the book, and as I write in the book.
No, but you say, but it's sort of, you dance around it. I mean, your father-in-law comes off very poorly in this book, according to what you've written. And I can't imagine what your wife is saying at home. I mean, your wife. I mean, is your wife in good
part of the story I write about in this book is the family tragedy that took place during my years as governor. And I compare it somewhat to a Shakespearean story. And I write about the loneliness of the job, and part of that had to do with the fact that my family was torn apart because I did my public duty, I protected the environment, I enforced the law, and I had an angry family member who took it the wrong way, made false accusations that he subsequently had to retract. But when he did that, he unleashed the furies on me and was a factor, I suggest in the book, to some of the scrutiny that ultimately I had to go through and my administration had to go through, and it's part of why I'm facing what I'm facing today. Under no circumstances am I suggesting he's the only cause. By no means. There are other factors. I've made some misjudgments with regard to other people. President Obama and I have a mutual relationship with a fellow by the name of Tony Resco. I write about that in the book, and how the president said that relationship was boneheaded for him. Looking back, I say it was stupid on my part. That was a mistake. I didn't know he was involved in the things that we've learned he was involved in, and I know the president didn't either. But you know, sometimes you put your trust in people, and sometimes it's betrayed. But still, the bottom line is, if the people get a chance to hear the taped conversations, and the irony again is that the accusers are the ones who went to court to prohibit us from talking about them, the full story will come out, the full truth will be heard, and you will see I was never involved in trying to sell a U.S. Senate seat for financial gain. In fact, the opposite's true. I was going to hold my nose and put my political nemesis' daughter in the Senate if I could get jobs, health care, and no taxes on people.
Have you gotten copies of all the tapes the prosecution tends to introduce to you? Have you gotten copies of it in the course of discovery?
Yes, my lawyers and I have all the tapes.
All right. Is there any reason why you can't just play them if they set you free? If, you know, as you say, if they're going to show everything, why not just play them now? Why not give them to us now?
Well, that's the leading question I've been waiting for you to ask me, Greta. The prosecutor, those who made the accusations, who took snippets of those conversations out of context and misled the public and misled you in the media, mutilated the truth. They're the ones who went in to court and got a protective order that prohibits me and you to talk about those tapes and prohibits you and the public from hearing the tapes. I've clamored and argued that those tapes should be heard, every one of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I confess that I used profanity in those private conversations.
I'm not worried about the profanity.
Okay.
Governor, I'm just saying, so you're saying that there is a protective order right now that prevents you from handing us those tapes, yes or no?
That's correct, that the government brought on.
Here's an idea. Here's an idea. File a motion to say now that you have the tapes, because that was before, but file a motion to have the protective order lifted, because there are, there are certain rights that you have as well. So you might convince a judge to release it now.
Well, you know, I don't know if you have any free time on your hands. We could love to have you add you to our legal team, Greta. But I should tell you that the media has made those requests, and thus far they've been unsuccessful. But
that's not the media. But that's you. It's different if it comes from you than the media. But that's for another day. Anyway, the book is The Governor that the governor has just released, and it talks all about the inside story on what's going on in his life. Governor, good luck, and I hope you get those tapes released. I'd love to hear them.
I'd love you to hear them. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Okay.